Your success relies on how satisfied your customers are with your service. Customer expectations change all the time. Luckily, you have some control when it comes to setting realistic expectations for your customers, and that will help you prevent confusion and difficult situations. In this section, we're going to look at ways we can improve your messaging and go from vague to clear and efficient communication. We'll also discuss the reason why some customers tend to miss important information and what you can do to avoid these kinds of scenarios. And lastly, we'll take a look at what to do when customers approach you with unreasonable expectations. With the following strategies, you'll be able to better manage customer expectations and provide quality service. Setting realistic customer expectations often comes down to efficient communication. You need to use clear language to help your customers avoid unpleasant surprises. This applies to communication in person, in writing, and on the phone. When reading or hearing information, customers tend to choose the best case scenario. That usually happens when we aren't specific or clear with our messaging. Vague information will result in confusion. For example, if you're processing an online purchase and tell the customer your package will be delivered in 3 to 5 days, customers tend to hear 3 days, even if in reality the order might not arrive until day 5. Instead, try telling them your order will take up to 5 days to arrive. This way, you're managing customer expectations from the beginning, and there's less chance of disappointment. In fact, they'll be happy to see that their order arrived early if it does come on day 3 or 4 instead of day 5. So as a result, everybody will be happy. Or here's another example. When you're responding to an email and say, "I'll get back to you soon," customers might think that you'll get back to them in 10 minutes, even what you really mean is a couple of hours. Instead, be really specific when exactly you're going to follow up. You can give them a specific deadline such as, "I'll get back to you by 4 p.m. today." The key here is to make sure that you do give yourself some extra time so you're not rushing to get the answers. Also, avoid telling your customer that you'll solve their problem and then later contradict the time that you mentioned. If you break the promise, customers will see that as a sign of poor service. So by clearly communicating from the beginning, you'll be able to manage their expectations and ideally be able to exceed them when you go out of your way to help. Even when we do our best to communicate, sometimes the customers simply don't read or remember our instructions. That could be pretty frustrating, especially when they come back to you with unreasonable expectations. To understand why this happens, let's look at the situation from their perspective. First of all, they don't have the same expertise about your company service or product as you do. What might be obvious to you might be completely missed by someone who is not familiar with your company and your policies. Oftentimes, customers are busy multitasking or they just have a lot going on in their life. As a result, they end up missing important information that you share with them. One way to prevent this is by using multiple forms of communication. For example, if you have an important refund policy, this could be shared by email, posted on the website, and stated later on the receipt after someone makes that purchase. If you are sharing important details in conversation, make sure to speak slowly so people are more likely to retain this information and not get confused. Also, keep in mind that everyone understands and remembers information in different ways. Personally, I'm more of a visual learner. I know I'm more likely to remember something when I see it in writing. For other people, it might be easier to remember the information if they hear someone say it. Basically, your job is to think of ways you can communicate important details in multiple ways with your customers. There's a better chance they will remember this information. It'll help you set expectations and reduce unpleasant surprises down the road. Dealing with unreasonable customers is going to happen in every business. It's an inevitable part of customer service across all industries. For an e-commerce business, a customer might be upset that they have to pay for return shipping. For a tech company, a customer might be disappointed that the software wasn't compatible with their computer. And so on. There are many examples like this. But there are ways to make these experiences easier and more productive for both you and the customer, as well as the company. So how do you handle customers with unreasonable expectations? We've already discussed that the best way is to manage expectations from the beginning. That means to warn them ahead of time. Use different methods of communication and different formats for presenting this information. But what do you do when it's already too late and you're already facing an upset customer? When this happens, you need to take action to help them feel better and to prevent the issue from happening again. Let's go over some things not to do in this kind of situation. First of all, don't talk down to the customer. Dealing with an upset customer can be challenging, and it's frustrating, but it's also important to stay respectful and calm to control the situation. Never tell them it's their mistake, even if that's the case. If you're the customer, the last thing you should want to hear is that it's your fault and what you should have done differently. Avoid pointing fingers and using this kind of language so the situation doesn't escalate. Do your best not to show your frustration. Being impatient with a customer can make them feel disrespected or embarrassed. Once somebody feels that way, it would be very difficult to help them solve the issue. Your best bet is to avoid triggering those emotions by staying collected and calm. If both you and the customer get upset, you'll be stuck in a negative conversation without a solution. So your goal should be to listen carefully to what they have to say and try and understand their needs. The trick is to make them feel like you're on their side and really do want to help them, even if you can't give them exactly what they're asking for. When a customer feels that you're acting like their friend and are on their side, they'll be more likely to listen to the options you're proposing. And as a result, it'll be easier for both of you to work out a solution.